Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, the Yankees start off the World Series with perhaps the worst type of loss possible, losing by the score of 6-3, but it ended in a walk-off grand slam. But a game that the Yankees pretty much had won twice, and twice gave away, and obviously the decision by Boone is going to get all the notice and right, especially if the Yankees end up losing the series. Probably one of the fateful worst baseball decisions in Yankee playoff history. I can imagine. Maybe second to Joe Torre leaving the Yankees and Joba Chamberlain on the mound there in 2007 with those Canadian soldiers and flies and maggots, whatever, those all over their face there. This probably might trump that, the decision to bring in Nestor Cortes, who hadn't pitched in nearly a month in a big situation, and he ends up serving up the game-winning grand slam on the first pitch. And again, this is a game that you're going to be looking back on if the Yankees lose this series, because they had a very opportunity to win this game. And even though I did predict that the Dodgers would win this in 6, if the Yankees could have grabbed this first game, because then you're facing a situation where even if you split on the road, which is always your mission, then you come back home, maybe you take 2 or 3 at home in there, and then your mission after that is to take one of the 2 final games back at Dodger Stadium. And the Yankees had the opportunity to really get themselves off on the right foot, and unfortunately coughed it up, and which was actually a great baseball game, if you just want to be in terms of a pure fandom. But of course, for Yankee fans, a brutal, heartbreaking loss, because you had the game in your fingertips, in the palm of your hand, and twice the Yankees gave it back, and then blow it the big time, giving up the game-winning grand slam. So we'll get into the whole thing, but make sure you're a podcast subscriber. You want to get the reactions after each of these games, and plus once we're done, of course, we have the whole offseason ahead of us, winter, a lot of decisions. Will the Yankees bring back Boone? I don't know. I know he got the Yankees to the World Series, but some bad decisions in Game 1 doesn't exactly warrant another contract, but we'll see what happens. And of course, you have decisions gone Juan Soto, Gleyber Torres, so whole winter ahead of us. So make sure you're a podcast subscribe, and there's also the YouTube channel, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Get the video version of the show there as well. So I figured that this series would probably, just from all the conditions, the fact that the Dodgers were the home team, they get the last at bat, whether it's the bottom of the 9th, bottom of the 10th, bottom of the 11th, get a no ghost runner in the playoffs that they're in the regular season, and the team with the home field advantages got a little bit of a nod there. And also, you just look at the fact that, we looked at some of the betting odds that, did favor the Dodgers in the series, and same would go about 5 or 6 games, and that and for some other reasons, just with the Dodgers offense, is the way they've been clicking. They kind of bludgeoned the Mets in a lot of those wins they had. And, I just kind of felt, again, they would have the edge for this. So the Yankees really had to be on their toes, really had to be sharp. There was no room for errors in this one. And, again, it wasn't like the Yankees were, super sloppy. And, again, the Yankees played their game, and they had this in the palm of their hand. But, unfortunately, the Dodger offense was just a little too much to hold down. I mean, they held them down for pretty much the entire game. This thing was going the Yankees' way. But again, unfortunately, towards the end there, once Luke Weaver was out of the game there, you figure the Yankees were dead to rights. Even with a lead, you just knew at some point the Dodger offense was going to explode just a little. You leave the door open just a little bit, and exploded in terms of a game-winning grand slam. Now, another reason why I just didn't like the Yankees in this series overall is, Cole hadn't been throwing the ball great in this postseason. I mean, he had 2 starts. We had a limp out versus the Royals and Cleveland. And he did bounce back on the road and had a good one, solid kind of Cole-like performance in one of the road wins in Kansas City. But other than that, overall, you'd say Cole did not really look like himself so far in this postseason. And if you look on the offensive side, Judge hasn't been great. I know he got that big clutch home run against Class A, great, but overall you have to say Judge has not been having a good postseason. A little bit better in Cleveland versus the Royals, but Judge wasn't hitting great. And you can't rely on Giancarlo Stanton to hit a home run every single game like that. It's just a lot to ask of the man. So now we go to this Game 1, and guess what happens? Things break right for the Yankees. Now, Garrett Cole in the first inning there, very similar to the first game against Kansas City, where he was getting tattooed hard. I mean, you had 2 balls hit by Betts and Ohtani to lead off the game that almost went off, almost were home runs. Then Freddie Freeman smokes a ball for a triple. Now, great. After that, now Cole's able to get a line out to shortstop, and you're just really counting your lucky stars that, again, the ball was hit 4 times, tattooed on the nose, and you just see, oh boy, this is not going to be a good night for Cole. It's going to be another game where he's just getting hit hard, and he's going to be gone out of there by the 3rd inning. But then Cole settles down and looks like Garrett Cole, and was absolutely fabulous, was actually dominating the Dodgers lineup. So you were getting what you wanted from Cole. Again, he hasn't been great this postseason, but you finally got a good start from him, get you off on the right foot. Now on the offensive side, same thing, Yankees weren't doing much there as well, and Jack Flaherty was holding the Yankees down at bay there. Judge early on with an opportunity to do something with strikeout, ended up having 3 strikeouts in this game, and again, Judge's postseason woes continue into the World Series, his first World Series appearance, but he was still getting what you wanted. Again, you're getting a strong start by Garrett Cole. You're imposing your will. Again, this was a test going to be against the Yankee pitching, which had the edge, versus the Dodgers hitting, and which one was going to crack. And so far, the Yankees pitching was imposing their will in this game. Even though the Yankees fell down by the 6th inning by a score of 1-0, still at that point, you'll take that against this Dodger offense. And then, of course, with a man on, Giancarlo standing up, and again, I said he can't do this every game. Well, he did do this again. Another big home run, getting fell behind in the count, and it just seems he baits these pitches in. He'll swing at 2 lousy pitches, and then he'll just sit back. He'll lay off a couple of tough pitches, and then there's always like a slider or something inside, a breaking ball that doesn't break right, and he just gets enough stick on, and he did it again, crushing a ball to left field. I mean, he didn't even move his body. He just knew it. Everyone knew it, and put the Yankees ahead by a score of 2-1. This was almost playing out almost like all the wins they had against the Royals and Cleveland. Again, low-scoring games, good pitching, good bullpen work, and a clutch home run by Stanton. So far, up to this point, everything was going the Yankees' way. Now, one decision by Boone he made in this game, again, he made the big bad one towards the end there, was pulling out Garrett Cole in the 7th inning. Okay, he gave up a single to Hernandez, but he was only at 88 pitches. I mean, it wasn't like he was struggling out there, because by going to the bullpen earlier, you then now start that cycle earlier where, again, at some point, Weaver's going to come in earlier, and you just didn't want that. If you could hold him back in your back pocket as late as reasonably possible, that should always be a mission. But no, took Cole out after 88 pitches. Again, I didn't like that decision there, which then, again, it kind of started the merry-go-round, and Clay Holmes couldn't get anybody out. First batter comes up, he hits the guy in the foot, puts 2 on there, and then Tommy Kahnle has to come in and clean up the mess, and at least at that point keep the score by a score of 2-1. Now, for the 8th inning, you could have made the debate again. All right, do you go with Luke Weaver to start the 8th clean? Because if you end the inning and if you only face 1 or 2 batters, that's okay. If you go into a fresh inning, you can then bring out another reliever. So he wasn't obligated to stick with Kahnle, but I was okay with the move then, because you still got to get some length. You have to understand too. Also, you're playing a game 2 the next day there, so maybe you don't want to use Weaver for 2 innings if you don't really have to. If you could squeeze some extra outs out of the other guys, maybe only have to use Weaver for like a 4-out save. I could understand Boone's thinking there. So again, I was okay with Kahnle starting the inning. That wasn't really a big deal. But then this was a pivotal moment of the game. After getting the first out, Ohtani up there, and then Ohtani puts another good swing on Kahnle. Again, misses a home run, but the ball hit so hard against the wall. Now, people are going to say, well, that was a catchable ball by Soto, but the ball was hit so hard that Soto just didn't have enough time to run there to the warning track to get it. So, people saying that Soto should have had that. The ball was hit so hard, I don't know how he'd be able to get there in time. You would need like a fast sprint runner, maybe like an Andrew Jones in his prime back in the day to do something like that. So I don't put that on Soto one bit, but unfortunately, the issue there in that game was Soto's relay throw into second base, which Gleyber Torres backhanded instead of put his body in front of the ball. The ball ended up dribbling into the infield. No one was there to back up the play, and Ohtani wisely saw that and then ran himself over the third to get himself in scoring position with 1 out. And that was pretty much the game right there. If they could have kept Ohtani at second, is it possible Ohtani still could have scored? Yeah, maybe. But that was the game right there. And once the Yankees end up relinquishing the lead in that position, they were going to be dead to rights. They will take their lead later on in the game, yes, but that was the situation right there, because they had everything working the way they wanted to. They had the lead. They got a good start from Cole. The bullpen formula was working up to that point, and then everything from there went downhill. They would bring Luke Weaver out finally because they had to. He would face Mookie Betts. Now, Betts would fly out the center, so he got Betts out, but unfortunately, with Ohtani the third, easily scores, ties the game up there at 2-2. And you almost like the situation where the Yankees were in Game 5 against Cleveland, where you have Weaver out there, now the game's tied. Well, you can only get 1 or 2 innings out of him, so you almost have to take the lead afterwards. And yes, the Yankees would eventually take the lead afterwards. And thanks to Jazz Chisholm, who had himself a great game. I mean, defensively, he made some big plays, especially a couple of line drive with a man on third to keep the score at that point, 2-1. And then finally got off on the hitting side, which, again, he's been struggling hitting-wise. I mean, defense, he's been great during the postseason. No problem there. And again, I thought he'd be a liability. He's been making all the plays. Just bobbled one little situation against one of the Royal games. But other than that, he's been solid defensively. But offense, we were waiting for him, and he finally got on base there. Ended up stealing 2 bases in this game. Would end up being stealing third base to put himself in scoring position with Volpe up, who struck out a couple times early in the game. Able to do a little midfield little chopper, which was just good enough with Jazz's speed. All you needed to do is not pop the ball up. If you put the ball on the ground, even in the infield, draw it in with Jazz's speed, he's probably scores easily. That's what happened. Hits the ball to the shortstop hole. They get Rizzo out at second, but Jazz easily scores and puts the Yankees ahead by a score of 3-2. And then, of course, from there, they rode Weaver out as long as they could. had to go to the bullpen again with Jay Cousins, and who was excellent again in the Game 5 against Cleveland. But unfortunately, with a runner on, the Yankees then were put in a bad situation where you have Ohtani up, and this is going to be the big decision, which is going to be talked about for the ages. With the Ohtani up, he opts to go in with Nestor Cortes, who was added to the World Series roster along with Stroman. I don't know why he did the two of them, but brings Nestor out. And I just want to go backtrack a little bit of the Yankee history now. At that point, Ohtani was 2 for 12 against Nestor, so the numbers favored Nestor Cortes. And there was a game about 2 years ago when Ohtani was with the Angels, came to Yankee Stadium, and Nestor just ate him for breakfast. He struck him out 3 times, made him look like garbage. So in the back of my mind, when they added him to the postseason roster, he probably had that in the back of his mind that as well. I mean, there was a couple of bats where he just made Ohtani look absolutely foolish. So I could understand why he went with them. I can understand that matchup. But the only debate is you have Tim Hill. Tim Hill's been great for the Yankees. Obviously, he's been pitching the whole time in the postseason. Nestor hasn't pitched in over a month. So the right decision would go with Tim Hill. Yes, probably 90% of people would say that, because even if Nestor gets Ohtani out, you still got a pitcher you bring out has to face a minimum of 3 batters. Nestor has to get out Mookie Betts as well as Freddie Freeman. So that was the dilemma that Boone was faced with, and I guess he just liked the matchup of Nestor going against them versus Tim Hill. We'll never know what happened. I mean, Tim Hill could have came out and just walked the ballpark. We just will never know. But unfortunately for Nestor Cortes, he did his job. You got to say more respect. He did get Ohtani out, a pop out to left field, and Verdugo making a great play, diving into the left field stands there. Very good Jeter-esque type of play. Again, if the game of the Yankees would have won and held on, you probably would say one of the more iconic plays, defensive plays in Yankees history. And he also had a gem early in the game, running in to save a single from Duncan into left field, a sliding catch to get the Yankees out of that inning as well. So Verdugo defensively had himself a great game. So once they got Ohtani out, this was the decision. But now this is the only thing I'm not going to kill Boone for bringing Nestor out, but I did not like the decisions after that where, all right, you have a man in first and second. Now they have Mookie Betts up. Now they had a choice. They could walk Mookie Betts, load the bases up, and go lefty on lefty versus Freddie Freeman, but the problem with that is that you have no margin for error. You can't walk the guy. You can't hit the guy. If you spike the ball at home plate and it gets past Wells there, runners going to score. Anyway, again, you gave yourself no margin error. The wiser play would have faced Mookie Betts. I know Mookie Betts is a right-handed hitter. He's a great hitter. He's killed the Yankees over the year, but at best, even if he gets a single at that point, the worst case scenario is the game's tied 3-3. Chances are he's not going to hit a 3-run home run. Yes, he could. But chances are he's not. The better move would have been to face Mookie Betts. And who knows, maybe he just hits the ball on the ground, you get a double play, you get out of it. Or maybe he just pops the ball up in the infield. I mean, you were better off facing Betts with a bag open and give yourself some breathing room for room of error. When you load the bases up, you intentionally walk Mookie to load the bases up for Freddie Freeman at this point, you have no margin of error. So that's really what bothered me more. It didn't really bother me bringing Nestor out. It's walking Betts and going for Freddie Freeman one-on-one. And Freddie Freeman, who told the reporter after the game that he was looking for first pitch fastball. Well, Nestor gave one right down the middle, a cookie, and Freddie Freeman just crushed it, and he just knew it on contact. And unfortunately for the Yankees, a heartbreaking 6-3 walk-off grand slam loss. Just about as brutal loss as you can get when the Yankees had this game in their hand twice. Not once, but twice. Once after the Stanton home run, they made it 2-1, and then later when the Yankees chipped away, took the lead. And I forgot to mention before, the big key moment in the game is another big moment with Gleyber Torres sending a ball to deep left field there. Now a fan reached over there, and at first I thought it was a home run, but I guess the fan reached over, caught the ball. Now they did review it, and I guess they figured that the ball wasn't going to go over the plate, so they only award Gleyber Torres second base, but a pivotal, inches away from that ball going over the wall there. Maybe again that could have been another opportunity for the Yankees to win this game. So this came down from the inches there, and even early in that there was an opportunity in this game for the Yankees with a couple of runners on there. Verdugo hitting the ball right up the shortstop hole there with 2 men on. I would have at least brought in 1 run with Jazz running at their second base, but Edmund, the shortstop there, making a diving play to at least keep the ball in the infield at that point. That kept the bags loaded there, and then the next batter came up there would end up striking out there. So Yankees had 2 other opportunities to put some runs on the ball, put some offense on the ball. But again, this is a game of inches the whole way. But unfortunately, the Yankees has come out on the wrong side of it, and it's a real bad loss because you got pretty much everything you wanted. The Yankee formula was working. You got a great start of Garrett Cole, which we weren't sure we were going to get. You got yet another big major home run from Giancarlo Stanton to turn a Yankee deficit into a Yankee lead. I mean, all his home runs have been either tying games or putting the Yankees ahead. This one put the Yankees ahead, and the bullpen formula, at least at that point, was working. But unfortunately, that one swing by Ohtani, really, that to me, that's really what lost the game, even though the Yankees would lose it later on. Off of Canely, and then putting himself into third base where they were able to tie the score 2-2. That, to me, was where the game was lost. Because if the Yankees just could have held on there, the formula was working where they could have really gotten out of there and stolen a 2-1 win there in Game 1. And then, you look like, all right, maybe we could do this. But now that you wrote the script you wanted, the LA script you wanted for this game, and you still lost the game, that's just bad news for the Yankees now. So, again, not saying it's done, not saying it's over, plenty of baseball left, but you really needed that win, and it was right there in the palm of the hands. And, again, I would blame Boone, not really for bringing Nestor out, but more intentionally walking Mookie Betts, putting the bases loaded, and giving Nestor a situation where he had no margin for error. Now, look, could he made a better pitch on the first pitch there? I know he's trying to get ahead in the count there, especially, again, when you have no margin for error. Yeah, maybe could have executed a better pitch. But unfortunately for the Yankees, once Weaver was out of the game and you go into your D and E options in the bullpen, you pretty much lost it anyway, and that's why I kind of said the Dodgers are favored in the series, and I was picking them in 6. Just when you have the home field advantage, you get the last at bat, and that's kind of what happens in these situations. So, two evenly matched teams, they pretty much went neck and neck, and that's kind of what you expect. And one might be incremental better than the other, or they might be evenly matched. We don't know, but unfortunately for the Dodgers, they just got that little opening, got a couple of men on, and just had the right situation where you're putting someone out there like Nestor Cortes, who really shouldn't be out there ideally. And that's what happens when you kind of take ducks out of the water there. So, Yankees dropped the first game. Again, a classic, a great ball game, lived up to all the hype. Very exciting ball game. Again, if the Yankees could have won this one, that would be yet another classic win there. Yankees had a good handful of those type of games, especially in the Cleveland series. But unfortunately, this one starts off on the wrong foot. So, that's that for that. So now the Yankees go into Game 2. Rendon on the mound versus Yamamoto. Yamamoto, I think the regular season, one of those games at Yankee Stadium, completely shut the Yankees down. And that was kind of when the Yankees back in the summer were kind of in the doldrums a little bit. So I don't take too much stock in that. And this is Yamamoto's first time doing this. So maybe he has little butterflies in his stomach. Maybe over pitches, overthrows. Maybe he's a little wild. I don't know. But again, it was bad news for the Yankees that everything went their way and they still lost the game. So we'll see if they could bounce back in 2. They kind of have to, because if they fall behind 0-2, I know anything could happen, and we remember the 96 World Series with the Braves, and the Yankees lost the first 2, and they went on the road kind of flip-flop, and then won the next 3. And another thing, I started hearing some flack with Judge in this game again. Not a good game for him, with the 3 strikeouts, and especially in the first inning, an opportunity with Soto on to maybe do something. Again, but swinging and missing there. And even so, I guess in the post, John Heyman was suggesting that they should drop Judge in the order. It's kind of interesting, again, say not go as extreme as what Joe Torre did in 2006 with A-Rod when he dropped him 8th in the batting order. Like, I don't think you'd see that, but maybe consider flip-flopping Stanton and Judge. I just don't think you'll see it. Just, we know what Boone is with his loyalty. I just don't think they'll do that to Judge, especially being the Yankee captain. I know he's struggling like that. Again, I don't know who you would ideally put in that 3 hole, again, unless you tinker around a little bit, where it was maybe drop Soto in the 3rd hole, put third, maybe put someone like a righty, maybe another righty or something like Jazz in the 2nd hole there, and you go Torres, Jazz, Soto, Stanton, Judge, something like that. Possibly, is that going to really change the offense all that much? I don't know. And again, even though you're kind of disappointed in this, I just don't think you're at the point yet where you can actually consider dropping Judge. Just with everything around. Again, he's the Yankee captain, he's Judge, he's this, he's that. I just don't think they'll do that, but you can, he has been some spots in this game where you could give the Yankees a little cushion. Even late in the game, he had a runner on, and he ended up popping the ball in the infield, so... yes, he's been struggling a little bit, but I don't think you're at that point yet. You just got to hope he could turn it on a little bit because, the Yankees had this, again, in the hand without him really doing anything in this game there. So if you get Judge going a little bit, maybe that could change things. But again, he continues to struggle in the postseason. And even the Boone putting out this Yankee lineup, which I was okay with, but you saw how during the Kansas City series and the Cleveland series, he was very mindful of not stacking too many righties or lefties in a row. Kind of went righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty. Interestingly, in Game 1, not really worrying about that, stacking Judge and Stanton back-to-back, which you kind of understand because Stanton's been great, you don't mind it there. But then putting Rizzo and Jazz back-to-back, 2 lefties in a row there, and then further down the batting order there, Verdugo and Wells going back-to-back there. So, stacking up the lefties and righties, not being so particular about it as he was, during the World Series when he was completely going righty-lefty, righty-lefty. So, kind of interesting to point out there. So, but that's Game 1, all done. Great game from a baseball standpoint, but a heartbreaker for a Yankee fan. We'll catch you next time.